Good morning. Welcome to Your Vote Counts. I'm Scott Mitchell with Jason Dunnington and John Echols. And Jason, interesting story that was sent around on Twitter by our friend Ken Ragsdale, who sends a lot of news for us to take a look at. And this was interesting. The rise of the independent voter nationally and could be impacting Oklahoma or maybe not. Your thoughts about this new poll saying independents are rising?
Yeah, it was a very interesting article to read that Ken shared. First of all, I hope everyone's staying warm this Sunday morning. Obviously, we're doing the show from our homes because of the weather this weekend. But essentially what the article said was that independent voters across the country are expanding. It's as I think high as 43% now, and that there's an all-time low of voters registering with traditional political parties, 27% or so for Democrats, 27% or so for Republicans. And honestly, I'm not all that surprised. We have taken politics to a point these days where political parties are requiring 100% loyalty to their platform, or they are done with you. And you have so many voters, especially young voters, that are looking at, how they want to engage in politics, but they like certain aspects of the Democratic platform. They like certain aspects of the Republican platform. Therefore, they're just registering as independents to give them the freedom to kind of pick and choose the things they like the most. And I'm not really shocked by that. I think that that's going to become more of the norm.
John, this is a national poll, so I'm wondering what you think the impact is on Oklahoma.
Well, I think here's the reality on the national polls. This is the citizens sick of the political class. They're sick of it. They're tired of it. They want to move on. They want people that are real, not just blind loyalty to a party, but blind loyalty to principles, not blind loyalty to principles, but loyalty to principles. Now, we're seeing this on the national level because the absolute dysfunction in Washington, D.C., which I talk about a lot on this show. But this show exists so we can talk about local politics that oftentimes gets missed. What's going on in the state of Oklahoma? Yes, we see an uptick in independent voters in Oklahoma, but we also see an uptick in Republican voter registration. The reality is the vast majority of the state of Oklahoma agrees with the Republican Party's platform, and the legislature needs to keep doing a good job of delivering on that. Individual liberty, lower taxes, we'll talk about that later on the show, and more personal freedom. So this blind loyalty is not going to work if you want to build a national brand. And the insiders and the political class, that's not going to work either.
Okay, speaking of the legislature, big bill last year, the legislature passed a law to have more appointments on boards. The governor vetoed it. The legislature overrode it. This week, the Turnpike Authority said we're going to have a lawsuit over this. Your thoughts on the backstory there, John?
So here's what happened. The Oklahoma legislature passed a bill giving more seats on the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority than they had. Now, this is a complicated issue. I am for more roads and bridges. We have to continue to build our infrastructure. If we want to continue to grow in both Oklahoma City and in Tulsa, we need to continue to have that infrastructure. Now, there are questions regarding how long should there be turnpikes? Should they continue to be there? Should they eventually become free like we were promised they were going to? It's just about oversight. Now, the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority and the director have handled this lawsuit well. They want to know, what will the Supreme Court say? Can the legislature have more appointments than the executive on an executive agency? There's not friction there. This is an okay lawsuit, but we need to watch it closely because this decision will matter for other executive agencies.
Jason, your thought on this Supreme Court showdown?
Well, look, I don't know that anyone's shocked that our supermajority and our governor have disagreed with each other on a particular issue. But this one has to do with the Turnpike. And so many of us that use the Turnpike or have been on it, we kind of know the history of this. I mean, we've had candidates run for governor of the state of Oklahoma based solely on making the Turnpike free. If you look at the number of miles of Turnpike that we have in the state of Oklahoma, compare that to other states, we rank super high in the number of miles of paved roads that people have to use. So there's definitely frustration from the public standpoint. I mean, just take the politics out of this, and you only have to look so far south as Norman to understand the politics of turnpikes right now. So it's a really interesting issue. Interesting that the Turnpike Authority is the one that's brought in this lawsuit. We'll just have to wait this one out and see how it plays.
Okay, coming up, we won't have to wait until the fall for surprises. There may be one coming in January to the legislative picture.